to manage our business. And finally, it's something I love. Has anyone heard of the phrase, "we've always done it this way"? Yes. I know. It's in the private sector, too, I have no doubt. Well, it's an oft-used phrase in government, and we have taken that and turned it on its head. And in January, launched an internal campaign at the DOT called "We've Always Done It This Way." And what we're doing is encouraging employees to give us the best ideas on how to, again, improve the customer experience or reduce our overheads and costs. We've received 212 ideas as of yesterday, and my staff is combing through the 3 best ideas. And this will probably shock you. I'm sure it will be on the front page of the Herald, but I'm going to actually pay the best 3 ideas. $500, $250, and $100. We're going to reward the employees with the best ideas on how to improve. So if you want me to manage it like a business, you have to let me manage it like a business. Sometimes I think in government we're asked to manage it like a business, except when we don't like you managing it as a business. So how can we motivate our employees if we're not incentivizing them with either modest programs or programs like this? So again, you'll read about it in the Herald, I'm sure, although I keep saying it, and the Herald won't maybe run it because they like to have the flashy headlines, and I just keep saying it. Quickly, I'll shift to the T, and then I'm happy to take questions. Obviously, this week, if you haven't seen it, I know exactly. It would be hard to. I was on vacation last week. I was thinking about staying out there, but we obviously announced our proposal that we're bringing to our board next week on how to close the T's $185 million budget gap. A few things. First, the T staff and John Davis did a tremendous job of, again, going out and listening to customers, taking some hits, staying in places like Fitchburg and Hull and Brockton till 9, 10 o'clock at night to listen to folks, to see what the importance is of the MBTA. But it was obvious to us that without some kind of external assistance, and we didn't count on that because we know the budget pressures at the state level, that some mix of fare hikes and service cuts would have to be part of the mix. So we proposed on average, a 23% fare increase. That will still keep us among the lowest, or in some instances, the lowest, of other large urban transit areas in the United States. Now, I'm cognizant, someone pointed out, that they're not really competitors. You can't take the Atlanta subway to downtown Crossing. But it is an important bellwether to see where we are, how we're managing our cost structure, and what our fare recovery ratios are. And we're proud of the fact that we're going to remain among the lowest in the United States. We're also cutting service. Service, I think, that probably should have been on the chopping block in the past. But we're being honest with folks that there are 4 very underperforming bus routes, that there are a number of other bus routes and commuter rail lines and weekends that just don't perform very well. Ferry service, E-Line and the Green Line. There are a number of places where, unfortunately, the cost, given our financial restrictions, the cost just doesn't justify us running these service for such few customers. And we're also proposed a one-time solve to move the so-called the Safety Inspection Trust Fund surplus over to the T to buy back some of the serious cuts that we had on the table. The so-called $29 you pay in cash. It's always in cash, right? I don't know. I've never understood that. Probably have to talk to myself about that. But using that revenue to buy back one-time cuts. But I cannot emphasize enough to you that this is a one-time solve, and the T's budget deficit next year is between $100 and $110 million. So I will be, and the staff will be, likely back where we are today unless something else gives. Now, when we briefed the legislature on Wednesday, their jaws really dropped when I told them that was the tip of the iceberg. Because, folks, the funding problems for the DOT amount to approximately $1.3 billion annually. So whether it is the deficit at the MBTA, its operating deficit, whether it is the state of good repair deficit at the T, we should be spending somewhere between $700 and $720 million. We're only spending about $480 million. So if you've been on the Red Line lately, we have Red Line cars that were built in 1969. I don't even know who was governor then. I mean, this is serious issues we have to address. But at the same time, the highway program, we are paying for somewhere between $250, $270 million for employee salaries and other costs on the capital budget, and it should be operating. This is no way to manage a long-term organization. The folks that mow the lawns on the right-of-way are paid for on our credit card. Let me repeat that. The folks who mow the lawn are paid for off the capital budget, not a way to manage a long-term budget situation. Our RTAs have needs. In total, they have about $150 million in capital needs, not even to include some of the service expansion that they should be looking at to account for the population growth and employment growth that has occurred in places like Springfield in Worcester. So this is, unfortunately, I think the first step of acknowledging we have a problem. And I can tell you, we have a problem. As I started off by saying, the current system we have today is one we cannot afford. And the system I think we would all like to have is certainly one we cannot afford. But the first step was obviously to be honest with folks, to identify what we could do to reduce that deficit, operating deficit, continue to push reform in our organization. I think continue to show the public and to show you that we are taking reform seriously, both within our organization and how you experience us. Be more transparent, which we have been pushing very hard through today. And again, managing the place more like a business so we can continue to reduce our costs and improve the customer experience. I appreciate you having me this morning. I noticed the Fab Five didn't show up. It's too bad. Vader might be around too. Have you seen, there's a guy, 6-foot guy who dresses up as Darth Vader. He's Vader. I can tell you, I have had a lot of fun the last few weeks. There's no doubt about it. I didn't know superheroes would be chasing me around the Commonwealth. But with that said, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.